Okay. We are back. Couple of hours after the pre-match stream, and this was way more comfortable than I anticipated it being. That's the Discord popping off. Way more comfortable than I anticipated it. It was a very heartwarming, I would like to say, very vindicating result for us. Let me just quickly get my my stuff all done as usual. We'll pop out the chat, stuff like that. I'm probably early. I didn't really. I usually give myself like half an hour to set up stream and stuff, but it's late, so I just wanted to get into this as soon as possible. So I have started a bit early. I've got 7 points here, but one is a conjoined point, and let's kind of say that this how do I put this? This is one of those games where I could genuinely put every single player that played in the good box. Obviously, because of time constraint, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to highlight certain players that I thought were the standouts, as well as some other things. But yes, welcome in. We'll get into the main point of this in a bit, but let's kind of highlight what this result means. So this now means that we've gone the entire group stage undefeated, 6 wins from 6. We sit at the top of the table. If I actually get the table up, I can see it. We sit at the top of the table, 6 wins from 6, as I said, 18 points, 21 goal difference, and I believe we have scored more goals. We have scored more goals in the group stage than any team has scored in this competition, period. So I think the highest before this, the highest goal scorers in this competition throughout the entire thing was 24 goals. We have scored 26. So we've averaged 4 goals a game. So there we are. Yes, not only this, but this is kind of shaped the rest of the field a little bit differently as well, because with us beating Shamrock Rovers, they have now been pushed down into 10th position and will now be in the playoffs rather than in the automatic qualification. At the moment, I say at the moment, it's all finished now, I believe. The 8 teams that are going through for the automatic round of 16 are us, Vitoria, Fiorentina, Rapid Vienna, I don't know what team this is. Jurgarden? I'm not sure where they're from. Lugano and Legia Warsaw, and then Bruges in Belgium. So I've just noticed that my camera is doing that autofocus thing again. Please stop doing that. There we go. I've discussed this in the past. I think that this competition was an absolute blessing, not just because of it helped us stabilize, it helped us integrate all the players that we have with our big squad, it helped us integrate, if I can say that word right, integrate the youth into the team, but it's also just the way that it builds confidence. And I said this in the pre-match stream, like I wanted this to be a game where we could build confidence for the Everton game, because that's going to be one of those fixtures which it could just be kind of annoying because of how defensively they set up. But yeah, so really good from us to get the only thing this game was missing, genuinely, the only good thing that this game was missing was a George goal. And that's the one thing which I said I wanted and I didn't get, but we'll get into the main bulk of this now. But yeah, this competition has been really good for us. Let's go into this. So, welcome to Feeling Blue. Now, as usual, I'm going to be putting in my lucky number of 7 points here. I'm going to put in kind of a general point at the start here to kind of go over my thoughts about this game and this team in general, and I'm going to get rid of... the first point I'm going to quickly get out of the way, because it's the only bad in this this video today. The rest of the things are going in good, quite obviously, and it's just because we didn't get a clean sheet. That's literally the only thing. And it's frustrating because it's like it's one of those goals where you can't really do much about it. It's a deflected goal off of Cassidy. He knows nothing about it. Jurgensen knows nothing about it. But it's just annoying, isn't it? It's just annoying not getting a clean sheet. So that's why I put that there. And also basically just because I already had 6 points and I couldn't think of a seventh. So yeah, as I said, there was a lot of as I said, this was at the top of this episode. The thing is that this is a game where I could genuinely put every single player in the good box and talk about every single player, and obviously I don't have the time to do that. Felix is one of those, came off the bench, looked really, really good. His first touch is absolutely immaculate. But as I said, I'm going to be highlighting specific players that I feel really stood out to me. The first thing I'm going to be talking about, though, is actually just for Enzo Maresca. If the thing would stop lagging, that'd be great. There we go. No? Whiteboard, do you want to work? There we go. Cool. Just for Enzo Maresca, because I backed this guy before we signed him. I backed this guy to when we started losing our first few games in pre-season, and other people were saying that he's a championship quality manager and he would never get us anywhere. But the thing which I really want to credit him for today was the way that he adapted not only his tactics, but the tactics within the team that he already set out. And when we eventually made substitutions and we had to go into slightly different formations and stuff, and obviously I'll highlight this more in my tactical breakdown either tomorrow or the day after, and kind of what that meant to our squad. The way that he sets us up is to be in the best position to win a game in no matter what. And the way that he has kind of set the precedent for what it means to play for this club, and the fact that we saw this in the video where George and Josh were getting their kind of induction into the first team. We saw that video of him saying, like, look, you two can't take this for granted. You need to prove that you deserve to be here. This is an opportunity that is earned, not given. And also to the rest of the squad to set that example and be like, hey, if hold each other accountable. If you're not playing to standard, then you're not playing to standard. And that's kind of the reason why I want to put him in here, because this game felt like that message was ringing throughout the squad from the first whistle. And it's going to be the first point I put in here, is that my second point here now is for George and Achempong, but specifically not just these two, but every youth player that played today, because they all got the picture. They all got the idea of, I am playing for one of the best clubs in the world, and I need to play like I'm up to standard. I think these two genuinely were immaculate, but also credit to Murray Campbell, who came on off the bench. I felt like he was really solid. Raksaki came off the bench and he put in a decent performance, as he kind of did. Harvey Vale, who we were talking about in the pre-match stream, we were saying, what happened to this guy? Why has he never got any minutes? He played a lot of minutes today and he was actually really, really decent, playing in a slightly different position to what he's used to. And yeah, he looked really good. But specifically these two, I wanted to highlight, because this was the game where they've just obviously been promoted to the first team. They've just been told that message of go out there, play like you are a first teamer, and prove why we have given you this opportunity, and prove that you have actually earned this and it's not just been given to you. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what they did, because George was electric on this left wing for the first half. I think he was a little bit less effective on the right side, but still kind of a threat. I'm so sorry for him not getting that goal at the end. Really, really good run from him, and just unfortunate not to get it away. And Chempong, again, another really good defensive performance from him. Solid on the ball, but also just being able to adapt to different positions. He was playing as this right back, as this kind of right back, centre half, as he kind of tasked to do in the first half, getting high when he needs to, and then going into central centre-back when we move into a different formation when DSRC comes off, and he looked comfortable there too. And it's so nice to see players adapt so quickly and integrate so well when this is a team where we were kind of fearful with all of the new purchases that we were making, and obviously we're buying a lot of young talent, that maybe the pathway for certain players wouldn't be there. Maresca and these two have really shown that that is not the case at all, and that these young players, if you're good enough, you'll get into the team. And that's one thing which I've always said. People always ask me on Twitter and things like that, like, hey, why do you think that this certain youth player hasn't made it? Why have these certain players made it? For example, players like Lewis Hall, why did he get shipped out and stuff? And to be honest, I think it's a mentality thing, and I've always said this. I don't think that Lewis Hall, in his heart of hearts, had the mentality to say, you know what, I'm going to fight for my place here at Chelsea. He didn't have the bottle to do it. He didn't have the bottle to do it. Not, same thing with Tino Livramento, same thing with Tariq Lamptey, all these young players that have come up through the ranks and they've been playing second fiddle to another player, and they've just said, you know what, I can't get ahead of them. Whereas these guys, especially Josh, now signing this really big long-term contract, have said, you know what, no, I'm good enough. I do back myself to get in this team and actually play well, and they've proved that today. I'll catch up with chat because people have been saying stuff and I've been on a ramble. Yeah, I guess that's a thing, right? With George, you say he's a bit too eager to shoot. I would rather him be too eager to shoot than be too timid to shoot. Because if you're too eager to shoot, you can rein that in and be like, okay, you can think about it a bit more, know when to shoot, when not to. But if you're too timid to shoot, teaching a player, hey, shoot on sight is really, really difficult. If you don't have that striker's instinct or that forward's instinct to just shoot whenever you get an opportunity, then you're basically never going to be taught that. So it's better to be more aggressive and then be reined in than be too passive and then having to kind of catch up, in my opinion. But yeah, he's as I said, on that left hand side, he was especially really good today. The combination of George, Cucurella, and Vega, I think, was really, really good in this game. Correa, I'm going to be putting him in here again. Just. And I know this is kind of, considering he was, out of all the players that played today, he's like the most senior, so it makes sense for him to be as good as he was against this lower quality opposition. He was electric again, and it's just so funny because I'm not sure who profiled this man as a left back, because he can play literally anywhere. He can play midfield, he can play left wing, he can play anywhere. He's absolutely fantastic, and the finish, the goal that he scores, obviously he gets in here because he gets a goal. Not just the good performance, but the goal that he scores is genuinely like an absolute striker's finish. It's a great touch to take it away from the defender, and he puts it onto his right foot, which is his weak foot, and puts it straight in the bottom corner. This we've been saying for the past few streams, I've been saying anyway. I think that Cucurella is the best left back in the league. At this point, we are getting close to the fact that we're getting close to it being completely undeniable, because he's actually adding goals and assists to his game now as well. And he's not just this tenacious tackler that we kind of all knew him for. Now he's doing all of that hard work rate and stuff, but also adding goal contributions, which is just fantastic. His 3 Chelsea goals have been a perfect hat trick. Yeah, they have. Which is interesting. I thought that I'll talk about this player in a little bit. I thought Guiu's was a perfect hat trick at first, but I think he scored both his first goals with his left foot, which is again still good. But yeah, and yeah, again with Cuckoo, it's one of those things where this is a player that again was not really given much of a chance by our fan base and was kind of thrown out to the wolves and kind of said, hey, he's not good enough to play for us. And there's another thing, a reason why I give praise to Maresca, because he's revived careers of these players that seemed like they weren't good enough or seemed that they were on the way out. Obviously, there was rumours last season that he might be going to Manchester United because they were looking for a left back, and that didn't eventually materialise. But it's good to see him back in the team, playing pretty much every week, and now just getting goal contributions. And with him doing his oh yeah, the first one was a header. What am I talking about? With him doing this new celebration, I think we can start like crowning him El Pinguino, because he keeps. I know he did it the first time because it was like funny because he kept slipping over, and that's like haha funny because penguins fall over. But he's done it twice now, and I feel like every time he scores, he's gonna do the same thing. So now I think we should call him that as a kind of fan base. But yeah, first I was gonna comment on that as well. First time wearing the armband, which is fun because obviously again he was just kind of the most senior player out there at the time. We had about 6 youth players playing, but yeah, again, great for him to, as a senior player, set that example for the younger guys that were playing today and say this is the level, this is the intensity that we play at. And I think that was one of the things which I'm so happy with his performance though, was that because even though we were playing a lower quality side, even though we'd already qualified, it was to set that precedent and that standard of this is how we play, this is the intensity that we play with every single match day, and it doesn't matter who we're facing, we play the same way. And Cuckoo was a good example of that. That segues me nicely into the next player, because I put Kieran Dewsbury Hall in here again, not just because of his goal. He scores it's a really good finish from him on his left peg. I love seeing this guy score, because you can tell that he cares so much, and he doesn't really ever get the opportunities, because whether that's just be because of circumstance or because he's not been training well enough or whatever you. But yeah, the what was I gonna say? But the kind of intent from him today was there. He ran his absolute socks off. You could see when he came off eventually that he was absolutely shattered. And he, as I said, he earned his goal getting into the right position. And I think that was one of those things that, again, he's one of the ones that we talked about this a lot when Gallagher was playing for us, that he was always the kind of the dynamo, or the kind of engine in the middle that was kind of spurring the rest of the players on. And I think that Kieran was that today, where he was the one that was pressing really, really high, obviously interchanging nicely with Madueke on the right-hand side, and the Chempong when they were making that triangle, and kind of being the one, he was being the one that was kind of making the way I like to talk about it is that a lot of the stuff that he was doing today was the stuff that you don't notice as a viewer. So a lot of the stuff where you don't notice what he's doing because you're watching the ball and you're watching where the ball's going. But if you actually watch him specifically, the runs that he makes off the ball to kind of drag players away, and also just to get into positions that kind of threaten. I don't think Madueke gets his assist today if Kieran Dewsbury Hall is not making runs into the box, because he opens up that space for him. And in fact, let me talk about Madueke as well, because he's going in here. This is 2 assists in 2 for him. And like I said with Cucurella, we were saying with Cucurella that, like, he's an excellent left back, but he needs to start adding goal contributions. Madueke has a similar thing, where we were saying he's really, really good at his 1v1 dribbling. We know he's very good at his 1v1 dribbling. That's why he's in the team, because those 1v1s are kind of what we thrive on. But we were kind of saying that, like, he was being a bit too selfish at times. If that's one criticism we could give Madueke, is that he's being a bit too selfish at times. He's now got 4 assists in 5 games, and especially he's now got 2 and 2, and from the exact same scenario. If he can perfect doing that cross, he's going to get so many assists from that exact scenario, because that's so difficult to defend against when you get it on the money. And he's clearly, we know how hardworking Madueke is, and we see him, like, on the off season training on his weak foot and things like that. I guarantee he's been in training perfecting that cross exactly. And it's literally the exact same, as you said, it's the exact same cross for Cuckoo's goal against Brentford, and then for this one for Guiu. Excellent performance from Madueke. Again, another one just like George on the opposite side, just being a constant threat down the right hand side all the time, and probably could have gotten a goal or 2 maybe. He was a little bit unlucky not to get a few. He was getting some opportunities on his left peg, but it's nice to see him again, like Cuckoo, adding those goal contributions, because we know how good he is in his general wing play. But it's the people to kind of, nowadays in modern times, they don't really rate players on the fact that they're good at wing play. It's more so, are you getting goals and assists? If you're not getting goals and assists, you're not a good player, which is kind of the argument nowadays, which is complete bollocks. But it's good to see him kind of backing that up and getting the goals and getting the assists. Speaking of getting goals, now we've got one player to talk about, and usually I'd run these polls for this thing in the corner called the True Blue. I'm not going to be doing that today, because there's literally no reason to not be putting Marc Guiu as that True Blue today, because he was just electric. And I've spoken about Guiu, and I said when we kind of saw him a few games ago, I said, like, it's a shame that we're not seeing that pre-season Guiu that we saw. When we saw him in pre-season, he was absolutely incredibly intense. He would never give the defenders a moment's notice. He was constantly pressing, and then he kind of seemed to be, I don't know whether it was instructed by Maresca or self-doubt or whatever on his part, but he seemed to kind of rein that intensity in a little bit and kind of stop making that those incredible presses and those just relentless running at people that he was doing in preseason. He brought that back today in bundles, because both of his first 2 goals come from that exact thing, where he's just running at the opposition. And they really, I think that Shamrock really underestimated how, not only how fast he is, not only how strong he is, not only how good of a finisher he is, because the one which he scores where he runs past the defender and puts it in on his left peg is an absolute sublime finish. But just in general, they kind of underestimated how intense he can be. And as someone said there, I think that he is one of those players like a Diego Costa that can just change things just by being so intense. And him, I wanted to say this as well because I feel like it was kind of nice to point out that Guiu was kind of the embodiment of karma in this game, I would like to say, because from the first whistle, the Shamrock fans, the away end, were being absolutely horrible cunts, throwing shit onto the pitch, chanting homophobic chants, and Guiu comes along and says, "Fuck you, Hatrick on your head top." And to be honest, it's one of the most satisfying things in football is when that happens, and then the crowd shuts up for the rest of the game. For the whole of the second 45, they were completely silent, and it's good. I'm glad to see that because they can screw off. Honestly, I hate when away fans come to stadiums, especially against teams that are way bigger than them and have way more pedigree, and they don't respect the stadium. The throwing shit on the pitch just always pisses me off in general because that's just scummy for you to do, especially throwing it at players that are like, especially throwing it, like, I understand it if you're like, oh, let's do it to disrupt people, but you're just not disrupting anyone, you're just delaying the game and being cringe. So, like, I don't get it. But yeah, very satisfying for Guiu to completely put it to them, and he gets in at the True Blue today. As I said, I'm not going to be running the poll because I think it's pretty obvious who gets in there. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out as ever. I will be doing the tactical breakdown for this game either tomorrow or the day after as usual. As I mentioned earlier on the pre-match stream, the link to the Discord is still in the description. I have actually put it in there now. I've already seen a few people have already joined from the pre-match stream, which is good. So I hope to see more of you guys there. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video, which, as I said, will either be Friday or Saturday, and then obviously we've got the game on Sunday against Everton, which I'll also be doing pre-match for. So that's good. I've got to catch my breath after that game. It was an absolute great one. So as I said, thank you guys for hanging out. Enjoy your evenings, and yeah, I'll be still talking on Twitter and stuff if you want to keep continuing the conversation. But that's for me.